I'm Dave, this is the Cyderbaby pod, and today I'm speaking to the man, the legend, that is Albert Bouchard. Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you.
That's all right. Like I was just saying a second ago, you've been a big part of my life for a long, long time with Blue Oyster Cult. My best friend introduced me to the band years and years ago when obviously, not that long ago. I mean, just a couple of years ago, but when we were kids, um, he was playing Blue Oyster Cult and Secret Treaties to me and stuff like that,
Mm.
and it's just stuck
Hmm.
with me. But
Yeah.
you're still producing music to this day.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I mean, besides the Imaginos and the Dictators and Blue Coupe, I
Yeah.
have those are my main projects right now. But I also have doing a I'm doing a trilogy, which is turning into a 4 record set with of the Dancers at the End of Time, Michael
Okay.
Moorcock trilogy. So we're putting those 3 books together as a musical experience.
Excellent. Excellent.
So,
So
yeah,
when did it all start with you, for yourself, the music? Where did it all
and
start?
music. Oh,
Mm,
geez, I probably when I was 3, I saw a
yeah.
parade. I saw a parade. It was in the United States. We have um, Memorial Day for the people that died in the wars.
Mm,
So at that point, I think there was just World War II that was had just ended. Well, about 4 years earlier. So we went. So the parade was to commemorate the soldiers who died in World War II, and World War One too. So there was a memorial, like a big obelisk in the
mm.
middle of the town with the names of the people who died in World War One, the people who died in World War Two, who fought for the United States, and so there was a parade that went by, and it was probably the kids from the high school, right? But to me, they were giants. They were just
Yeah.
these giant people walking and playing, you know, playing drums and trumpets and glockenspiels and cymbals, and it was all really exciting, very noisy, and I just loved it. I followed the parade down the street, and then they got to the war memorial, this big stone thing, and they all went. They kind of gathered around and they played the the national anthem for the United States, and the weird anthem that we have. But it got to the middle part of the song. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with our national anthem, but it goes. It goes da 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 da, and then it goes to this very high part, and it goes. Well, in that part, the drummers were playing like a press roll.
Yeah.
So to me, it looked like they were going zzz. It just by, I mean, I saw their hands that didn't appear to be moving, and they were looking at the drums. So I thought that they were using the power of their mind to make this sound.
Right.
It still might happen someday, but yeah,
Oh, kids.
it was total magic. Total
Well,
magic. I said, my
so yeah, so obviously it sprung from that point then.
Yeah, yeah. And my mother was a big. She was a. She worked for the FBI. She was J. Edgar Hoover's secretary for. I think. Let's see. When she was 22, 22 to 27. I think around 5 years she worked for the FBI,
Wow.
and she lived in. This is when the FBI was in before they went to Quantico. They were in Virginia. They lived. The FBI was located in Chicago originally. So she lived in Chicago. She was from Boston, but she moved to Chicago after college and got this job. And so she was a single woman, and she had a little apartment, and she had money to burn. From growing up. Well, she was an orphan, but her parents were rich at first,
Yeah.
but then they died, and then she was an orphan, and she lived with the other relatives who didn't really appreciate her that much, apparently, or that's what she thought. Anyway, so she went from being rich to being poor to being rich again. So when she started making this money at the FBI, she bought a lot of records because they had the 78 RPM records. So
Yeah.
she would buy all these singles. She loved Bing Crosby. She had every one of Bing Crosby's records, but she also had Benny Goodman records because she was in Chicago, and that's what you heard on the radio in Chicago was Benny Goodman. And of course, Benny Goodman's drummer was Gene Krupa. So when people say who influenced your drumming the most, Gene Krupa, absolutely. To this day, I try and play like him.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, I first heard you through Blue Oyster Cult. I assume that was one of your first forays into
Oh yeah.
bands
Yeah.
or whatever. So, how was that? In what was that like in its heyday? I mean,
Well, now the thing is that I was fascinated with music, but I never really thought about being a musician.
hmm,
I wanted to play in a parade. That was my goal when I was 7 years old. But then around when I was 11 or 12, I heard this song called "Walk Don't Run" by the Ventures, and
right.
at that point I was, I wasn't, I heard the songs on the radio. I, the, I was born in 47, so when I was 11, it was 1958. So I wanted to be in a bit. All of a sudden, I thought, oh, this rock and roll stuff is really cool. I want to be in a band and I want to play Walk Don't Run. It had the little pop 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 pop. It had the little drum break in the middle that I thought was just cool as hell,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to do that. And as it happened, my cousin Teddy and his friend Eddie Basnett had a band, and so Joe and I sort of bum rushed the band and insisted that we become part of this band. This 2-person band became a 4-person band, and eventually we got another cousin to play saxophone with us. So it was a 5-person band, and we started when we were in 7th grade. I was 12, and Joe was 9
Right.
this summer, and then when Joe turned 10 in winter, we played our first paid gig, playing for the Boy Scout dance, and then we kept that going until I went away to college, and we played almost 500 shows as
Wow.
our little junior high school little kid band. Not
Yeah.
bad for a bunch of kids. Now I get not bad for an old guy, but back then it was it wasn't. They're not bad for babies.
Okay. I mean, you've toured far and wide as well. Did you ever think you'd be touring the world at that
Oh
time?
no, no. My goal at that time was I just wanted to hear my song on the radio, like I heard the Ventures. I thought, wow, that'd be really great to be on the radio.
Mm,
And just one time, that'd be, I'd just like to hear it one time. And not. I mean, I thought, that yes, songs were part of our musical wallpaper. I mean, we just like, but I mean, and I used to listen to Little Richard or the Big Bopper or all these Buddy Holly. I would listen to them over and over and over. I couldn't get enough of them. So I did not ever think that I would get anybody to do that for me. Well, I hadn't. I guess I wrote my first song when I was 12,
right.
and I thought it just was something that came into my head, and I wanted to hear how it would sound with the band doing it, because it sounded like a certain thing, and then you know, and I was very gratified how it sounded. I mean, it sounded better in person than it did in my head, you know. So then I started writing more songs, and eventually Joe and I started writing songs together because he wanted to get in on that. And yeah, and we were the only band in our high school that played original, and not just in the high school, in the whole county.
Hmm.
We were the only band that played original material. You did not really hear other bands playing songs that they had written. Now
Yeah.
this is when most of the music was still being made by studio musicians. Even the Beach Boys. You know, yes, they wrote their own material or most of it, but they had studio musicians playing with them, you know, or all those great Motown hits, you know. I mean, that just seemed out of reach to be able to play that well, you know, for
Yeah.
us, you know. But we just like to do it, and I got this idea to do it, and my cousin and my cousins and my brother, they were all willing to indulge me and learn these songs, and then our friends, you know, were like very impressed that we were the only band that did our own material, you know. So it was quite cool. I mean, we played a battle of the bands, which we won by playing. Well, we had two secret weapons. One was that we played an original song
Yeah.
that you know, the people that weren't fans of our band, they had never heard, but you know, we had our fans there too, so they loved this song. They were like, play She Turns Me On, you know. It was a terrible song, but you know, it was unique to us, and
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't really, I mean, I stole it from about three or four different others other songs, just like I do now.
Oh.
You know, you
Okay.
get influenced by things, and you know, I mean, I get influenced by soundtracks. You know, I mean, the
Mm.
soundtrack to what was that thing, Twilight? Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one.
Okay. Okay.
I've,
Um,
I've used that.
I'm not getting into Twilight discussion because
Yes.
that's that's a deep dark rabbit hole I don't want to go down.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's skip that for another day.
We'll skip that for another day. Um, um, well, I was gonna say, are films then quite a big part of your life as well?
What's that?
Are
It,
films quite a big part of your life as well?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I get ideas for songs from films. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and and I'm affected emotionally, you know, by a film. I cry. I certainly do.
Okay. Um, Going all the way forward, I mean, Imaginos III, Mutant Reformation. I mean, it's quite a mix of reworkings of older songs we know and songs we don't. I mean,
Yeah,
so talk me through the Imaginos trilogy. Um, you did Imaginos Reimagined, which is obviously a reworking of the Imaginos album from '88.
right.
Uh,
Yes.
so tell what what started this? What started this up for you?
Well, it was several things happened. First of all, they put out this, you know, the Blue Oyster Cult version of Imaginos is really my solo record with
Mm,
their vocals overdubbed on it, Eric and
right.
Don, basically, and then they had John. Um, I can't remember the guy's name, but he sang a song too. And so they figured that if they did that, they could call it a Blue Oyster Cult record. They agreed to do it, and I basically agreed to do it because I thought I'd gotten a promise from management
Mm,
that they were going to put this out, and I was going to be back in the band, and I was going to be able to tour with them and promote the record. And so that was really exciting. I mean,
mm,
well, it wasn't as exciting as if I could have done it by myself, but the
yeah.
record company did not want to put it out like that. They said we can't sell this. They went from a company that supported their artists and actually, were more into the art of music, into just like every other record company where all they cared about was the single. Where's the single?
Mm,
What's
mm,
what's pop? They did not care about anything that wasn't pop. Columbia before that was like a jazz blues record
yeah.
label, and so they really did a 180, and turned into just like every other, like Buddha records or something.
Yeah.
It was weird what happened, and I kind of blame Tony Mottola for doing that. Once Bruce Lundvall was the guy that signed me for my solo record, and then once he was gone, there was nobody that cared about me there,
Right.
because Tony Mottola had put all his own people in, which I mean is, his prerogative. He had to work and do the thing. I mean, he was looking for the next Hall and Oates, I suppose, because that was his group.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, Imaginos
Anyway,
Reimagined.
so
Yeah.
so it came out, and it was not what Sandy and I wanted.
Right.
Basically, besides the fact that it wasn't my solo record, which was kind of annoying to me, and then the fact that that Sandy had said that I would be back in the group, and then the group said he never told us that, and so I wasn't in the group, so I was
Right.
upset with that. But more, it was the record was not presented the way that we wanted it to be presented. So people were always saying, and then my rough mixes of the tracks were somehow that somebody got it on the internet. I was not shy about sharing my rough mixes with some of the fans,
Right.
that were closer to me. I'm not going to name any names, but anyway, those things got out there on the web, and people were like, "When are you going to put out your version?" Because everybody knew the story about how it had been
Yeah.
taken away from me, and so I thought, well, and I used to have the stock answer like, "I don't own the tapes; they belong to Columbia," and I have approached them about remixing it or redoing it, and I'm getting, it didn't sell the first time. Why would we want to put any more money into this thing? We put a fortune into it. Do you really want to go into, being unrecouped again? So I was like, there's nothing I can do. They have control. I don't have control. And then Sandy got sick, and well, he had an accident. He fell and he hit his head, and he went in a coma. And then when he woke up, he had brain damage. I went to see him in the hospital, and I'm like, "You got to get better, man, because we have to do this thing right." I knew that he was obsessed with it. After it had come out, he had spent years trying to develop a video game, a movie, a play, anything. He just was trying to get more attention for this idea that he had, and so I knew that was important to him. So I said, "You have to get better. We'll do it right. We'll get a hold of the tapes. We'll remix it, and and then we'll do, the Bombs Over Germany, which was going to be the second volume, and then also Mutant Reformation. So we were going to do all three, episodes of this saga, and so and it was going to take place, in the 19th century, the 20th century, and the 21st century. That was kind of the idea, that it was going to be a 300-year-old story. And then Sandy passed away. He never got better. He kind of sustained for a little while. And of course, I was working in the school. I worked as a school teacher for 30 years. And so I couldn't really take off time to be with him and to, so I kind of went there, said my piece, and then came back. And as luck would have it, I was playing with Blue Oyster Cult at the time, because we finally did this Alan Lanier tribute concert, and we did some other, it was I think the 40th anniversary of Agents of Fortune. So we did a whole tour that year, 2016. And when Sandy passed, I was actually in England, playing with Blue Oyster Cult. So, and that was a great thing. That was really very gratifying for me to feel like I was a part of this band that I had started. And I made it back. I made it back with them. And everybody was okay. We were
Yeah.
we were nice to each other.
That's
So,
good to hear, actually.
yeah, so and it's continued since then. You know, I played with him last year. I spent like a couple of weeks with him practicing and getting ready for these three shows in Times Square, and so it was all great, you know. But so anyway, in 2019, I was getting all these fan letters, and I said, you know what? Maybe I should do it the actual way that Sandy wanted it to be done, where you know, so halfway through recording the thing, when Columbia was starting to you know, hesitate about putting it out,
Yeah,
or they didn't feel like it was commercial enough, he said, what if we just turned it around and made it like an acoustic record, and like all every song was like a nursery rhyme, you know, like a children's song. You know, what if we did it like that, you know? And I was like, no, we are not going to do it like that. I just spent all this time and effort, you know, and, you know, to totally switch it up like that. No, no, no. And so, so then in 2019, I said, what if I did what Sandy wanted me to do? What would it sound like? So I started working with a group. You know, it was
yeah,
David Hirschberg, Justin Robinson, and Mookie Thomas. Justin and Mookie were two of my, you know, my graduates. You know, students from my school that I taught at. So they helped, and then of course COVID came along.
mm,
You know, we were going to go into the studio and record it in the studio. That was my idea, you know, to do it properly. And then, but then I couldn't. And so I was already getting into, you know, creating these arrangements, you know, this like inventive, you know, just redefining like astronomy, especially once I figured out how I wanted to do that. That was it. You know, I really was like, oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to do this. You know, I had a rehearsal track, you know, of us doing it, and it sounded so good, you know. And so I just started making all the tracks by myself, and then about a couple months into it, you know, by May or June, I things were opening up, and people could, you know, if you were tested negative, you could go and visit your friend and whatnot. So David Hirschberg came over, and he swapped out all these, you know, synth bass that I did
mm,
with real bass, and actually with a fretless bass, which was really
okay,
cool. And and then I got RJ Ronquillo to do a whole bunch of guitar leads, you know. So
mm,
and RJ did a bunch. I think Ross, the boss, did two leads, and Jack Rigg did a lead. So I had three other guitar players playing on it, and some really nice guitar work. And so I was like, oh, okay, this sounds really good. And as it happened, I had just signed with a new manager, this guy Jeff Keller from
mm,
California. I'd known him for about 15, 18 years, something like that, you know, as a manager of another band, you know, and that
yeah,
who, you know, we kept saying we're going to work with this band, but then that band eventually broke up. So he was looking for something. So he approached me and said, "Hey, how would you like to have me as your manager?" And I said, "You know, you did such a good job for those guys, even though they weren't that good. I wonder what you'd do with me." So he said, "Yeah, me too." You know, so he started managing me, and the first thing within a week he got me a movie job. You know, doing like a drum movie with Carmine Appice. It never happened,
right,
but it was like, wow, you know, Carmine, you know, and I just started getting friendly with Carmine. I played with him. I played with the Vanilla Fudge way back in the day, and then we played with Beck Bogart and Appice. You know, did a whole bunch of gigs with them. You know, opening for them in Blue Oyster Cult, and so I knew Carmine, but not really that well. But then, you know, I got really friendly with his brother Vinny,
mm,
and so then you know, we started talking about Vinny, and you know, and he you know, he was very nice to me. So I thought, you know, that would be cool. But then he got me a record deal, and So they wanted a record, and I said, "Well, I'm working on this Imaginos thing," and they're like, "Wow, yeah, that'd be cool." So they put it out. They did a great job lining up interviews with me,
Mm.
and I did like about 150 interviews in 3 months, which is more than I
Wow.
ever did in my whole life. It was like, wow, I'm spending more, almost as much time on, talking to people about the record as I did making it. So, but it made the charts. It sold thousands of copies. I made thousands of dollars. It was like, wow, I guess Imaginos is going to be my life
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
next, for the foreseeable future, which it has been. And it's been a wild and crazy and fun ride.
Wow. You released a third installment. I mean, everybody can go and see this on like iTunes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mutant Reformation came out about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
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 Just tell me, just pick a couple of tracks which you really, really do like on that album.
Okay. So, of course, I mean, I like them all. I love them
Yeah.
all, actually. I got to the point, there was plenty of tracks where I thought, oh, this is, I don't know what to do with this. This is not working at all.
Right.
Like, I had an idea for Soul Survivor, and that it was, instead of being like the Blue Oyster Cult version, it was going to be like super prog, and all I had to do was take out a quarter of a beat in every measure.
Okay.
So instead of being in 4/4, it was in 15/8.
15/8.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's in 15. The time signature is 15/8, and it was really tricky to play. I worked on it for a long time. The drummer Saison, he loved it, but it was also a bit of a challenge. And then and I wanted Mark Stein from Vanilla Fudge to sing on it, and Mark said, I just can't do it. It's first of all, I have too much going on with the Fudge, and
Mm.
also I just, for me to learn this and really get behind it, I'd have to practice a lot more, and I just don't have the time to do it. So he bowed out, and I eventually did it, and I was able to do it. Well, I did it for a while, and then I wanted my partner Susie Lorraine to sing the harmony on it, and
Yeah.
she could not get it. She was like, "Oh my God, Al, why are you making it so hard?" I said, "Well, go away." She was living in Arizona at the time, and so I said, "Go back to Arizona, practice, and come back, and we'll try it again." So she did. She came back, and she did her part, and she sang it so well that I had to sing mine over again. I said, "Oh my God, you have raised the bar. I have to now. I really have to try hard and get this right." So which I did, and then the final thing was to get RJ Ronquillo, and it took him about 3 months to get his part on it. But oh my God, it was so good, so good. So I love how that one was really, it was up in the air for a while. Like it didn't seem like my idea was going to work, and then
Mm.
then it, we pulled it out at the end. So that's one that I love. I love the same thing happened with Mothra and the Starfish.
Yeah.
That was in three different time signatures: 5/4, 3/4, and 7/4, and it kept changing, throughout the song. And Susie said the same thing, like, "Al, why are you making it so complicated?" And at first I said, "Well, I didn't even write the song. It was Alan Lear wrote it, and he wrote it with this weird time signature thing, and I dug it, as a drummer." She said, "But you're not the drummer now. You're the singer." And I had Saison play it that way with the 7/4 and the different. I would count him in, when it come to a break, with the 7/4 bar. Here it is, right? 3, 6, 7. There's the downbeat. And so I conducted him, and he played it the way that it was written. And Susie's like, "But it's not even fun to listen to," and I had to admit it wasn't. So eventually I took out all the 7/4, all the 5/4, and I just made it three-quarter time, like a nice pretty waltz. And Susie did a vocal that was tremendous. It just it touched my heart when she did it, and so that's another one that I really like, Mothra and Starfish. Mothra and Starfish. And it used to be called Mothra, but Blue Coupe is just about to put out a new record
Yeah.
next month. We've been working on it for about a year, but it's basically all these old songs that we recorded that were just not Blue Coupe enough. They were not close to Alice Cooper or BOC. They were just weird songs, and I was telling somebody else that so we decided to put them all on on this one record, and one of the songs is the actual soundtrack to Mothra. We do our own version of it with Tish and Snooki singing in the Indonesian language that the original Mothra song is, from the movie. So that's going to be on there. So I didn't want confusion, so I changed it to Mothra and Starfish, this other one, and so that's another one. And once again, RJ did an amazing job on the lead part. This is just when Jeff Beck had died,
Yeah.
and I said, "Can you channel a little Jeff Beck in there?" And he said, "Oh, I would love to." So it's RJ Ronquillo doing Jeff Beck, and it's I mean, Jeff Beck. What can you say? He's probably the best guitar player that ever lived, I think.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah. I mean, I struggle to think of anybody that comes close.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love Tony Iommi from Sabbath, but
Yeah. No, he was good. He was good. He came up with the riffs. It
mm,
came up with amazing riffs. But as far as playing, as far as somebody who affects me
yeah.
emotionally, it was definitely Jeff Beck. So anyway, so that's another one I would have to say. And the third one, I have three great favorites. The third one is Mountain of Madness,
Okay.
because I just love Richie Castellano. I loved writing that song with him. I had the song and I sent him a message. I said, "Richie, help me. I'm I'm struggling here. It's that I've written what I believe is a really good song, but it is just sitting there like a turd. Like it just sits there and it doesn't do anything and it's boring. And I need you to make it not boring." And so he came and he said, "Well, let's start with the lyrics." And it took us about 2 weeks to write the song, and we did it all over FaceTime. We
Right.
did not, we did it like we were in the room together, but with the technology, and uh, and it came out great. It just came out great. And he did a demo for me, and I said, "Oh, you got to sing it." He said, "You sure you don't want to sing it?" I said, "No, man. While we were writing it, he said, I'm going to find the actual, right at the edge of what I can do, And so, hypnotized, paralyzed, so he got, he actually he did a half step higher. And I said, what, it sounds, I mean, I get the idea. You want it to sound like, straining to sing, to get
Mm.
that note, but we could make it a half step. And just in case I have to sing it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean to rush you, but I've got about 5 minutes left on the Zoom call.
Okay.
But just going back over Blue Oyster Cult, and it's your band, your baby as such. I
Hmm.
mean, what are your fondest memories?
Oh, well, I mean, I have lots of great ones. I mean, with the band as Blue Oyster Cult, I would have to say that playing the Day on the Green shows with Bill Graham, I think we did 4 or 5 of them, and they were always wonderful. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, Bill Graham is like, he was a real gentleman. He could be a hard ass, but you know what? When he put on a show, everything was smooth, man. It was like he made sure that stuff ran well, and people behaved, and it was, he was amazing. And those shows, 80,000 people a show, I mean, it was just fantastic. It was a fantastic event, and I always look forward to it. And and he was a good guy. I mean, we used to go over to his house, and he'd have parties and make everybody food. He'd be cooking, and he's quite a character. So I love working with Bill Graham. I would say that was those shows were
Mm.
probably the best. best highlights of the Blue Oyster Cult era, when I was in the band. Now, when I went back with them in September, and when we played those three shows in Times Square, I would have to say that, and I remember feeling this, the first night I felt like this is the best show I've ever played in my life.
Really?
And I am more happy at this moment than I've ever been in my life. And, so that was one of them, is very recently, only 6 months ago, was probably one of the best moments with Blue Oyster Cult. Now, before that, I had other great moments, meeting Chuck Berry and meeting BB King, and, being treated like family with all the chess guys, Francis Clay and James Cotton. They were all like super nice to me. I mean, it was like, I love them anyway, but they were really gracious. Playing with Chuck Berry, he was a trip.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah, I still think, I don't believe I played with Chuck Berry in his band. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of my
For a little
earliest
kid from upstate New York, this is not too bad.
Okay. Won't hold you up any longer. I wish we could talk for longer, but I also wish I could convince you to come over to the UK in August, because Blue Oyster Cult are headlining the festival there. I'd love you to come over at the end of August and join them.
But I have other gigs. I have stuff I have to do in August. So and I got to finish this Dictators record. Oh my God! You think this one is good? The Dictators record is, so far, it's been coming out amazing. Really? Amazing. It gets better and better each time.
I will be looking forward to hearing that, sir. But thank you again. There's so much I could talk about Blue Coupe. And
I know. Yes. We could talk about the Damned. How about the Damned, man? They are fucking great, man. Oh my God. Yeah, we played this tour with them, and I could not believe it's like, here's these old guys like kicking ass and still putting out new product, and it's kind of like me, isn't it? Yeah. Well, there's not that many of us, really.
Well, the Damned did a cover of Eloise, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a cover of Alone Again, or the love song. Fantastic. What a great band.
I named my daughter Eloise, so, well, I didn't.
Wow.
My wife did, but because of that. But there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Time's going. I've got less than a minute to go, or about a minute to go. I shall let you go. I've held you up too long. Thank you so much. If you ever get the urge to talk to me again, please just get in touch.
I will let you know. I'm hoping to get there next year. Definitely.
Excellent.
Make a goal.
Okay, and we shall look forward to hearing what you've got to offer musically as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.